Well, Wendy, great to connect and I always enjoy our conversations. And today we're talking about toxins. And I was just recently putting together an in-depth article on microplastics. And it's amazing to find out that we're consuming roughly about a credit card worth of microplastics every week. And that we literally consume about a dinner plate, like 250 grams of microplastics in a year, the average human. And of course, these microplastics cause damage throughout the body. I know we've had previous discussions about heavy metals. There's just so many toxins that we're being bombarded with. And so this is a really important conversation we're going to have. And people are going to get a lot of value out of this as far as how we reduce our exposure, how these toxins impact our health overall. And then we're also going to go through how we reduce our exposure and how we effectively eliminate them. So thanks for joining me, Wendy, and let's talk about some of these toxins.
Yes, yeah, it's so important because I want to talk about specifically how toxins cause inflammation and what, they all pretty much do, but, we're exposed to so many different toxins on a daily basis and they also bioaccumulate. I'm 52 years old and I've had 52 years of accumulating forever chemicals and PFAS and Teflon and DDT and pesticides and these are toxins that are very, very difficult for the body to remove. And so they just bioaccumulate. And at some point, you have a toxin exposure or a stressful event, and your health can really go downhill quickly once you kind of reach this tipping point. And I think a lot of people, they're checking off all the boxes with diet and exercise and supplements and sleep and sunlight and doing the foundational things and still finding they're having health issues and symptoms and fatigue and brain fog. And that's why I'm really passionate about this is really getting the word out why people need to add detox to their health regimen because we have, most people have 20,000 different toxins in their body. It's shocking, really, when you dig into it. So you've got to be paying attention to this because it's one of the biggest factors in inflammation and in health diagnoses and symptoms that people are experiencing.
Yeah, 100%. What are some of the biggest toxins that you're seeing when you're doing testing or that you're seeing impacting people?
Yeah, I mean, I mainly do heavy metals testing. And so,
Hmm.
I don't do chemicals testing just because everyone has them. And so, in any kind of detox protocol I recommend, you're getting out chemicals too. But the main toxins I see that people have are lead. That's the number one toxin. I mean, it was just everywhere in our environment and the gasoline and, all the tires wearing out, it release a lot of lead into the environment. It gets in the soil, in the food. It's in the supplements. We inherit it from our grandparents and our mother. This lead is stored in the bones. And then also mercury is a big one as well. And then arsenic and there's many metals, but those are the top three that I see.
And how do those impact us? How do they reduce energy production and impact our mitochondria?
Yeah, so we really, most toxins are going to impact our mitochondria, our little powerhouses that make our energy in our cells. And so there's so many different things that can get into the mitochondria and that mechanism where we're making ATP and just thwart that in many different ways. And one way is heavy metals will poison enzymes that transport nutrients into mitochondria. And the heavy metals that do that are, arsenic, aluminum, tin, thallium, and cesium, mercury, lead. But there's many toxins that will interfere in mitochondria production and energy production of the mitochondria as well.
And then what happens when the mitochondria are impacted like this?
Yeah, well, if they're not getting the nutrients they need the B vitamins and just many other nutrients. They need oxygen as well. They're just not going to be able to produce the energy that your body is capable of. But there's many ways the mitochondria produce energy. The biophotons of the mitochondria are charged up by the sun, red light therapy, so that's super important. We also get energy from oxygen, so it's really important to do oxygen therapies. I drink water that has oxygen infused in it, so feeding your body oxygen, exercise, all those things count. But detoxification is really key to really maximize your energy production.
Yeah, for sure. And what are some symptoms that people could have that may indicate that they have a high toxic load?
It can really be anything. That's why it's so overlooked and missed. Certainly when you're going to your doctor and you're presenting with symptoms, they're not looking at heavy metals or toxins. It's just not kind of in their realm. And so you have to understand that they're not looking for that unless it's a really good functional doctor. But you can have the main things are fatigue, brain fog. You could have low grade nausea, but also, blood sugar control issues. The number one cause of diabetes are toxins. That's going to cause some inflammation for sure. A lot of people have blood sugar control issues. People have, digestive issues. Just any kind of hormonal issues, like you just sleep issues. I mean, it's in the research I've done over the past 15 years, every imaginable symptom and diagnosis can have an underlying heavy metal or chemical cause, or it's exacerbating that issue.
Mm, yeah. And what are some of the best ways to assess heavy metals or any toxins in your body?
I love hair mineral analysis.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic way to go. It's because it's very inexpensive. It's easy to do at home. It's not invasive, and we're only looking at heavy metals and minerals with that. But there's some, you can do urine test as well to look at other heavy metals and chemicals. There's hair mineral analysis for chemicals as well that you can do. But you can do stool tests for some metals. Blood tests are great for lead as well. And for iron, some people have iron toxicity, so blood is best for those. But for the easiest test to do at home is a hair mineral analysis.
Mm, mm. And so that hair mineral analysis will look at what kind of metals are in the hair as well as different minerals.
Yes. Yeah, and excesses and mineral deficiencies can, tell us a lot about heavy metals that you have. So it gives us a lot of indirect information as well.
And it's just a kit somebody can purchase. They get sent to their home and they basically follow the instructions and they're just clipping out a certain portion of their hair and then sending it back in.
Yeah, exactly. It's really easy to do.
Now there are some women that are a little concerned about taking out any hair. So
hmm Even me, I have a lot of hair and I still don't like to do it.
yeah,
But you survive. You just take a little bit from the back of your head and no one sees it.
yeah,
So
just a tiny bit. Yeah. Now, what are some of the toxins that you find that are hardest to remove from the body?
yeah, so those are going to be pesticides and mycoplastics or the microplastics,
Mm,
and also the phthalates and forever chemicals. So
mm,
these are things that will bioaccumulate, and that it's very difficult for the body to get rid of those. So you can do all the detoxing in the world. You can do detoxing for years, like infrared saunas and ionic foot baths, and you can do coffee enemas and liver support and all these different things that people do. But at some point, I urge people to do plasma exchange therapy. Especially if they have complex chronic illness, they have chronic inflammation, health issues related to chronic inflammation, because you just can't get rid of this stuff, and it's accumulated for years. I'm about to do that in July, and it's just most people need to do a series of, two or three of them. And it's not cheap to do those, but it's very, very effective. It's one of the most effective things
mm,
that you can do to just pull everything out of your body and then can totally mitigate any kind of symptoms or health issues that you're having. And I can't urge it enough if you have complex chronic illness or chronic fatigue, or just, something the doctors, they just can't get a hold on it, and everything you've tried isn't working. There are unbelievable recoveries very, very quickly doing like a once a month plasma exchange therapy treatment. And some people need five of them, but most people just need two or three, and you're good to go with the inflammation, with the weight loss, fatigue mitigation, and just brain fog issues, dementia. If you have early dementia, any kind of thing like that, I would urge the plasma exchange therapy.
And how does that work? How does the plasma exchange therapy work?
Yeah, essentially you go to a clinic that specializes in that, like mdlifespan.com. They've got like three clinics right now. They're going to have 25 in the US in the next year or so. And they're opening one here in Houston where I am, where I'm going to go. So essentially, what they do is it's about a 2 or 3 hour treatment. They take out your plasma, which is part of your blood, and that's going to pull out all these toxins, mold, pesticides, the plasticizers, the plastics, the phthalates, the DDTs, and all these things that we have in our body, and every toxin you can imagine. It's in your plasma that will be pulled out, and then they replace it with albumin. And that's essentially it. And then they can, some people have detox symptoms that they'll give you steroids or other things that will mitigate the inflammation, and binders that will, reduce the detox symptoms. For some, that's going to be more severe than others. And then after you pull all that out over the course of the next month, then you'll the body will start releasing toxins from deep in the tissues and our connective tissue and our bones and our fat, and start releasing more of that. And a month later, then you do another one. And then, you can retest your toxin levels, your toxin load, and see if you need to do another one.
Hmm. That's really interesting. Now, are you fully conscious while this is going on? Is it like an
Yeah.
IV or? Yep.
Yeah, it's an IV.
Yep. And so there are certain centers. What was the name of the center that you mentioned?
It's mdlifespan.com.
mdlifespan.com. So you
Yeah.
can find a center that does that. Are there any other places that you know that offer that?
Yeah, there's a lot of places it might go under the name Ines phoresis, or different types of name like phoresis, but you can look up PTE, plasma therapy exchange, and there's lots of places that offer it, and it's something that's used in for dementia and neurological issues. It's done in the medical community, but MD Lifespan, they really focus on the toxins and testing the toxins before and after, which you may not get with other centers. But there's lots of options out there all over the world, especially in Europe. They've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. Sounds like something in our society today that's going to be really key.
It really
So,
is. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Now, what
especially
are
if you
some
want
other
to.
things people can do, maybe just at their home, that can help support detoxification?
Yeah, so, one of the easiest things you can do is just taking minerals. Minerals push out and displace heavy metals, period. And most of us are mineral deficient because been getting this message like, oh, we need to reduce our salt intake, which is the worst advice
Mm.
ever that has harmed so many people. And a lot of people do that. They have high blood pressure, so they'll reduce salt. But high blood pressure is caused by high blood sugar. It's not caused
Yeah.
by
Insulin
salt.
resistance. Yep.
Yeah, so the genesis of a lot of problems is the high blood sugar. So you can take minerals, take all the trace minerals. I'm drinking keton, which is basically, purified salt water. You can just put salt in. I put salt in all of my water that I drink because that will help you to absorb and retain it.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then you want to take a lot of the macro minerals, big handfuls of those every day, like the calcium that will push out lead from your body, like zinc will push out mercury. Magnesium is most important, magglycinate and
Hmm.
threonate, that will get all of your detox mechanisms working really well in your body. And potassium is great as well. And then all the trace minerals you can get that with just sea salt.
Yeah, it's so important. So using a good quality salt, and you mentioned how high blood sugar, insulin resistance is the root of hypertension, which is typically the case. And the interesting thing is when you go on a lower carb diet, you actually excrete more minerals and more sodium. So you actually need more. So you need to salt your foods well,
Mhm.
taking a good quality salt and eat. You also want to make sure that you're eating trace mineral rich foods, right? And so
Yes.
things like cucumbers, celery, sea vegetables, grass-fed animal products, wild-caught fish, all very trace mineral rich. Pretty much most real foods. If you're getting real grass-fed organic animal products, wild-caught fish, wild-caught seafood in general, um, organic fruits and vegetables, it's going to be very trace mineral rich. So
Oh yeah.
eating that
Yeah.
sort of diet is going to help support that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people think of meat as protein, but it's actually very, very mineral rich. And fruit has the Brix minerals, which are complex minerals
Mm-hmm.
that we don't get anywhere else. So so I eat a lot of fruit as well, and juices are great, vegetable juices, also high concentration of minerals.
Yeah, so good. So eat that real food diet, focusing on those healthy foods. Focus on foods that are high in nutrients, low in toxins, which It's difficult in our society. The best thing to do is organic grass-fed animal products, wild-caught seafood, organic fruits and vegetables as much as possible. Organic's going to give you more nutrients and lower toxin levels. So what are some other things that you do on a regular basis to help you detoxify?
Yeah, so I do lots of liver support.
Mm,
There's 100 million people in the US alone with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So they're behind the eight ball when it comes to detox. It's
yeah.
just on the back burner. It's not a priority. So getting your liver online, really important with not destroying it with toxic seed oils and high blood sugar. These three alarm fires the body's going to have to deal with, the liver will. But also, liver supportive foods like, broccoli sprouts are great, egg yolks, cruciferous vegetables, onions, garlic. Those are great to consume. Ginger on a daily basis, but also, liver flushes once a year. It's super important to push out all that debris that might have collected in the gallbladder, liver ducts. And then also coffee enemas are indispensable for kind of mechanically, wringing out
Mm,
the liver. That's super important. And there's lots of things you can do, but liver supportive herbs are great as well. Milk thistle, broccoli sprouts, things like that. And also, it's really important to do infrared sauna. That's something I do on not like 5 days a week. I try to get in 5 days a week, about at least 20 minutes of sweating with each session. And it's really mind-blowing the research that's out there when it comes to infrared saunas, not just for detoxification. Because when you do an infrared sauna compared to a regular, just dry sauna, you have much more productive sweat, more
mm,
toxins coming out of your sweat, which is great. But you also dramatically, reduce stress. Your parasympathetic nervous system is activated. You have like a lot of heat shock proteins activate your immune system. You get lots of microcirculation, which nourishes, brings nutrients and oxygen to every corner of your body, which a lot of people just really underestimate that. You want to be doing things that enhance microcirculation. So, infrared saunas are key for that. And the stats on this are just mind-blowing. There was this Finnish study that was done over many, many years, and they found that infrared saunas, if you do them 5 to 7 days a week, there's a 40% reduction in mortality from all causes, which is just shocking. And it was even more shocking, the statistics on reversing dementia or absence of dementia development. There was like a 68% reduction in cardiac events. There was just the statistics are just mind blowing. But if you do a sauna maybe 2 to 3 days a week, all those benefits are cut in half. So if you do a sauna 2 to 3 days a week, there's about a 25% reduction in mortality from all causes. And so it's really important to try to do this
mhm.
5 days a week. So you need one for home use to be able to do that. But there's lots of great options out there for saunas.
Yeah, sauna is so powerful. So really good stuff. And you mentioned doing liver flushes. Are you doing that with like the Epsom salts and the liver, or the lemon juice and the Epsom salts
Yeah,
and olive
you
oil?
can.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can do the classic, Andreas
yeah,
Moritz style.
right.
I do an enzymatic liver flush that's by
Mm-hmm.
Zen Cleanse.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fantastic. It's these enzymes that are fermented for 3 years, and you'll take those for about a 24-hour period, and then do the olive oil and lemon juice
Yeah.
flush. And I find that it's a lot more effective than say but they all work. They all
Mm-hmm.
work. They're all fine. But the Andros Moritz are kind of loading up your liver for 3 days before you
Yeah.
do it. So I find the Zen cleanse just it's faster and more effective.
Yeah, that's nice. So Zen cleanse. Look out for
Yeah,
that, guys. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And so this has been great. And obviously, you mentioned the plasma exchange therapy. So make sure people are looking out for that. Talked a lot about the sauna.
Mhm.
Are you, do you advocate things like oil pulling, dry brushing, Epsom salt baths? Can those be helpful as well?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The Epsom salt baths give you lots of magnesium sulfate, so sulfurs help
Mhm.
detox your body. So those are great. Get deep sleep after that. I also really like ionic foot baths. Those are
Mhm.
amazing also they're easy to do. A lot of people, many people don't have room for a sauna or they travel a lot or whatever. So with the foot bath, you just put your feet in the water, gives you a lot of negative ions and sometimes positive ions that will pull out and attract different toxins and release them into the water, but also mobilize them in your body for 2 or 3 days after you do the foot bath. So I really enjoyed those as well, and those are a part of my detox routine. But yeah, I don't do oil pulling, though I am an advocate of that. I know that that works and that's really helpful. I just do different things than that for oral care. But yeah, there are lots of great ways to detox.
Yeah, great. It's been really good, Wendy. And any last words of inspiration for our audience? Obviously, you guys can go to myersdetox.com. She's got some great products over there that you guys can check out. A lot of really good stuff. So a lot of the things that she talked about, check out myersdetox.com. And she also has a great podcast, Detox Podcast, where she talks all about this. Any other last words of inspiration or practical strategies for our audience here?
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about metals that cause inflammation. So this is our
Mm.
inflammation
Oh,
summit,
yeah,
and I did a little
sure.
bit of research on this, and it was really, really interesting. There was a study that was done by National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, and they looked at about 19 different metals in 4,000 different individuals, and they did find that there was a very high correlation between the heavy metals that people had and an increase in systemic inflammation. And they did this by testing C-reactive protein, which is a protein released by your liver. And the higher that
Mm.
is, the more inflammation there is in your body. And they found that mercury was correlated with the highest levels of inflammation, which was really interesting. And then second, beyond below that was cadmium, which is, a metal that we get in migratory fish, smoking cigarettes, smoking marijuana, and just there's many other. There's even sadly in organic food. They use fertilizers from Morocco, these phosphate fertilizers, and they have a ton of cadmium in them.
Mm.
And so that's used in traditional fertilizers and even in organic farming, unfortunately. So we do get cadmium in our food as well. And then the next one down was lead. So lead did cause a lot of systemic inflammation, but it was really surprising to me that mercury caused the highest amounts of inflammation in the body.
Yeah, I've heard that mercury is the second most toxic metal in the world, only to like
Mhm.
uranium or something along those lines. So I'm not surprised by that. And people have them in their mouth oftentimes, right? From silver amalgam fillings, right? Where they're getting them in their mouth, right? Many people have gotten vaccines that have had mercury in them. And then of course you can get them from fish, right? Or seafood in general, you can get them. So there's a lot of different routes that you could be exposed to mercury. So really important thing that we've got to consider. And like you said, that's driving up inflammation in the body. So if you got chronic inflammation, you really have to consider these heavy metals. And you talked about getting that hair mineral test, right? And that
Yeah.
can obviously look at if you are dealing with mercury, lead, cadmium, arsenic, right? Any of these types of inflammatory metals, and then start working on detoxifying your body.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I started having health issues when I was about 37 and did all these like went to the doctor. I'm like, figure out what's wrong with me. I did about $4,000 worth of tests, which today is probably $10,000. But I found out I had all these hormone issues. I had the hormone levels of a menopausal woman, and just had and following that, I was looking for clues, and I found hormonal analysis and did a test, and I was really shocked by that I had mercury. I had a really high arsenic levels, which prevent you from losing weight. They poison enzymes that
Mhm.
transport triglycerides out of fat cells. And I had, uranium and I had cesium and thallium, and those aren't down on hormonal analyses, but they're in urine. But I had all these different metals, and I was really shocked because I lived such a healthy lifestyle. And but it really started me on the journey that I'm on today. I really went down a big rabbit hole trying to,
Yeah.
mitigate my own health issues and my own hormonal issues. And but today, that's why so many people are having a lot of hormonal issues, metabolic issues, fertility issues because of the damage these toxins wreak on our hormones and our fertility and our weight, our metabolism. And metals also contribute to all of the chronic health issues that people are dealing with and dying from. Like lead contributes to 17% of fatal heart attacks.
Hmm.
It's responsible for that.
Wow.
And so they're also contributing to hypertension and diabetes and metabolic syndrome and high cholesterol even because and I won't get into the mechanisms, but it's really, really important to be looking at detoxification to, if you're looking to prevent or reverse a lot of these chronic illnesses that have inflammation as an underlying root cause as well.
Yeah, for sure. And now, what do you find to be the most effective binders? Because binders are also a key for helping get rid of these types of toxins. Can you explain what binders are and what the most effective ones that you found for
Yeah,
these?
binders. Yes, yes, yes. Binders are just substances that absorb toxins, and they
Yeah.
latch onto them and can carry them out of the body without, irritating the body too much. And so, a lot of great ones are modified citrus pectins. You can take activated charcoal. There's bamboo charcoals. There's different clays like bentonite clay. You can take zeolites. I also like chlorella. It's kind of a weaker binder, but it's incredibly nutritious. So I take chlorella and spirulina almost every day because of the intense nutrition
Mm.
and minerals that you get from that. Yeah, and so those are really the main classes of binders that are, and I tend to rotate those. And so you want to take, a binder on a daily basis, usually like in between meals, away from medication and supplements. We don't want to be binding those up. But those are a really simple, basic way to detox your body. Super effective. I love C60 also.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
take one, it's actually, they call it ESS60 by My Vital C. And that's a fantastic, fantastic binder. And there's a lot of research behind it as
Hmm.
well. And so that's actually one of my favorite ones. And the modified citrus pectin's very, very gentle, very effective, lots of different benefits there as well.
Yeah, I know with the C60 that helps boost your SOD antioxidant enzymes inside your mitochondria that help support mitochondrial health. So SOD, superoxide dismutase, is actually one of the rate limiting antioxidants that protects the mitochondria. And so as people age, SOD levels go down, which causes more oxidation and rusting in that mitochondria, which is a hallmark of aging. And so supporting that with something like C60, which is able to get in there, really, really powerful for protecting the mitochondria. Yeah, and then getting things out in circulation where we can bind them with other, detox binders, so key.
Yeah, and
So,
that's why I take the spirulina also.
yeah.
That's a great
Oh,
source of
yeah.
SOD
Boosts
and
SOD as well.
marine algae is also. So that's a
Yep.
great source that it's hard to get from food, the SOD. So
Yeah.
it's good to take a real concentrated source like the spirulina.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Wendy, I'm gonna ask you again. Did we miss anything? Because this has been a great conversation that we've had, and we can go on because it's such an important topic. But anything else that you want to add? Any last words of inspiration for people?
Yeah, well, I know I'm throwing a lot at you and it might sound really overwhelming, but you can just start small, like everyone starts at some point, just taking minerals, maybe doubling up on the minerals that you're already taking. People usually aren't
Mm,
taking enough. And then, slowly kind of graduating to doing some liver support and some sauna, looking into, invest in yourself, invest in your health, getting a sauna
yeah.
for home use, or just using the one at your gym. Every little bit helps. And then if you can afford it, if you do have the means at some point, looking at that plasma exchange therapy because it's
Mm,
not cheap. It's 5 to 10 grand a pop for each one that you do, but that's going to really give you the biggest bang for your
hmm.
buck. Is especially if you have complex chronic illness and you're just tired of just the doctor merry-go-round and you want to get relief and prevent it from progressing that you can't do better than the plasma exchange therapy.
Mm. Yeah, so good. Well, thanks again, Wendy. Guys, check her out at myersdetox.com and also check out the Myers Detox podcast. Thanks again for your time, and everybody be blessed.